Welcome back. It is time after celebrating or experiencing. I'm not quite sure if celebrating is quite the right word. I want to celebrate Martin Luther King, but experiencing these days feels like a more all-inclusive term. We're back for another question about work. And if you're new, I'm Roy, and I'm a startup investor in the future of work, along with Min, who's here with me. Today is our 126th day of doing these, and we love having guests, especially guests with whom we get to collaborate frequently. James Currier started and is a partner of NFX, which I think of as a venture firm that was an instant classic. Sort of like the moment it arrived, it felt like it had been needed and there forever, and we love working with NFX. And James is somebody who has produced a lot with a tremendous sense of, to me at least, of calm and sanity around him. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Don't react, James. I see you like you get uncomfortable with the compliment. Go ahead, man. What's our question today?
Also, we were going to ask this week about productivity and like how to get things done. And so we figured, James, you're investing and writing and helping, like supporting founders. Like you've got a lot on your plate. And so what are some of your greatest productivity hacks?
Yeah, the way I think about it, I don't spend a lot of time reading the productivity hack newsletters and whatnot. For me, the big rock in all this is deciding who to work with, because they're the ones who tell you whether you're enjoying your time or not. If you have someone in your life that lights you up and you get to work with them every day, it's almost like, who cares how productive you are? As long as you're spending time with people like a Pete Flynn or a Gigi Levy or my partner, Morgan Beller, these people light me up. And so that kind of gets around the issue of productivity. But when they light you up and they're incredibly smart, then you just tend to get a lot more done. You get more energy, you do things more quickly, you make decisions more quickly. There's a trust, there's a flow, there's not so much debate, there's no politics being played, there's nothing to slow you down, there's so much less friction.
I'm curious how you have partners now, and when you partner with somebody in a venture capital firm, it's sort of it's like co-founding a company where you're likely bonded at the hip with them for quite a long period of time. And not all of those people did you work with in a full-time capacity before you started working on NFX. So what are the signals, forget about somebody on your team, when you're collaborating with somebody else, what are the cues you're looking for in terms of what you experience that tell you you're on the right track with somebody?
The first thing is how you feel in your stomach when they come in the room, right?
I love that.
Do you light up, or are you kind of worried, or are you feeling sick? And there's a lot of firms that unfortunately have built their management teams by figuring out who's going to make the most money for the fund. And at NFX, we think who lights us up and who's going to be a great investor, because we want to build for 20, 30 years, and you just can't sustain it unless you really like the people you work with. So.
And any clues, now I'll just ask the other way, any clues when you've had somebody who was on a team of yours who wasn't quite right that showed up in how productive you were, things you found yourself doing with your time where you thought, maybe I just don't like this or want to be doing it? Anything beyond the gut feel?
Yeah, you want the meeting to not start. You want the meeting to end. When that person isn't the right person, you worry about the communication because you're worried they're going to get defensive or they don't trust you, or everything has to be written down.
Yeah,
that's a sign that things aren't going well. You have to sort of prepare people for the meeting, and then have the meeting, and then do it's just heavy lifting. So it makes you unproductive in everything you do when you have the wrong person around you.
Yeah, I think one of the joys of being at a small firm as opposed to a large company can be that you have some choice over it. And in a large company, you got to kind of navigate your way through, and you're inevitably going to have some people with whom you have the match and some people with whom you don't have the match. But I love that in your gut way of thinking about it. We just had, as a team, our once a quarter get together for a few days. I don't want to call it, we never wanted to call it an offsite because that's just defined by where it is, but especially not now. We're all sitting in literally the same chairs. And I just always think about how whenever that meeting starts, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. And look, I think if you are a CEO or running a smaller firm, smaller company, you need to get rid of the people who don't light you up and don't light other people up, because you're responsible for that environment for them in that context. And if you have certain nodes in your network which are diminishing the energy and the enthusiasm and the trust, that's diminishing the productivity of your whole organization, and it's giving people lives that they don't enjoy as much. And so you as a leader have a responsibility to clean that out and keep that fresh and to have the channels of communication open with the people.
You know, there was this New York Times article, which maybe if I can find it, I'll link to it. And it said it was pretty provocative at the time because it was, if I remember right, around the time when the economy was struggling and my firm was considering, when I was running a company, doing a layoff. And it said, if you want a happy company, fire the unhappy people. And, you know, I don't want to say that that is unambiguously true, but there's definitely some truth in it.
Yeah, no, there's something in there, some kernel in there. You have to be a steward of the environment for yourself and for the people around you, and then the productivity will rise up. And then you can add in productivity hacks like drinking tea before 7 a.m. and all this.
Mhm.
But that's a lot of, I think, shamanism more than it is.
I love that. No more shamanism. I do not have a morning ritual.
Yeah, it's not at the heart of what makes things, you know. So working with the right people and then working on the right things and clearing out the things and having the right people help you figure out what those right things are.
Min, anything you want to add?
No, I was just reminded, we were talking to one of the founders in our portfolio and how, like, especially during the last year, they would give periodic, like, Wednesdays off, I think it was. And it was like a deep work Wednesday where, like, no meetings were expected. And instead, they found that a lot of people use the time to, like, do self professional development, whether it was like taking a course or writing or reading something in depth and commenting on it. And so it just reminds me that, like, when you create that environment, people don't want to just, like, go off and do whatever. They want to spend time doing something that's, like, professionally and personally enriching.
I love that.
Sense. And it reminds me that the most popular schools, the most popular class at the GSB is the touchy-feely class, and the most popular class at HBS is LEAD, which is basically the same thing, which is your interpersonal, personal development type stuff. And
yes, and for anybody who's watching very carefully, the creator of Touchy Feely is going to be talking with some founders who we know about her new book, which is called Connect. And so, James, if you or any of your folks want to join us for that, let us know.
No, absolutely.
We should have Carol come on one day.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, we'll have Carol come on. Carol Robin.
Carol Robin is dynamite. She's dynamite, yeah.
A legend.
Well, thank you so much, James. This is a pleasure. Hopefully we'll get to have you back on one day. We're talking all about, personal productivity and how to get things done. And so Roy and I will be back tomorrow. If you have other questions that you want us to answer, drop them down below wherever you see this. And Thanks again, James.
No shamanism, though.
My
To
pleasure.
be continued. Thank you, James.
Bye.